Today we're going to talk about the Tier 6 Premium Italian Light Cruiser Francesco Ferruccio. What I have for you is the game that made me realize this ship is actually pretty good. It's sort of a low ship count game though, because probably somebody in this lobby turned off crossplay. Anyway, before we really get into the stats or the gameplay here, we need to talk about how you actually go about obtaining the Francesco Ferruccio, because it is a little bit unfortunate. In order to get this ship, you have to navigate to the store. You've got to go to the special tab to see the event they've got going on for the Roman Empire right now. And there you will find a series of random bundles. There's 75 of these bundles in total. One of them has the Francesco Ferruccio. They cost 750 doubloons each, and the only way to guarantee that you actually obtain the ship is, of course, by buying all 75. But the store thing gives you a preview of what the next bundle is going to be, so it's possible you might get this thing early for cheap. I did buy a couple of the bundles myself, not because I wanted to get the ship. Of course, Wargaming already gives that to me, being a community contributor, but because those bundles contain the temporary event currency denarii. And there were a couple insignias available in that section of the store for denarii. So I have a ton of doubloons that I got from getting lucky and winning the 100,000 doubloon prize. Decided I'd spend a couple in order to essentially convert the doubloons into denarii, which I could then use to convert into an insignia. Probably not the best use of doubloons ever, but when I was going through the bundle chain, it just so happened that Ferruccio was the second in the bundle chain, so that is a stroke of ridiculously good luck on my part. You will probably not be so lucky if you do decide to go down the random bundle chain. Remember, there are 75 of them, and 750 doubloons a pop does not sound like much, but if you are going to buy all 75, you're going to be spending well over 50,000 doubloons, and this Tier 6 cruiser most certainly is not worth that. In any case, how is this ship? Well, let's run down the stats, and of course I'll show you my commander build. I'm using Azerlane Zara. I was trying to stay away from her when I was doing the review on the Venezia, because I assume most people probably don't have this commander. But if you're willing to spend a lot of doubloons in pursuit of possibly obtaining this ship, good likelihood that you probably have Azerlane Zara as well, and she's a really good commander for this ship. Keep in mind that all the stats that I'm about to read to you will be influenced by her skills. To begin with, we don't have a lot of HP, only 28,400, nor do we have a lot of armor. You can see that we're coated in 16mm plating practically everywhere, except for the deck, which does have 25mm, and the citadel is exposed well above the waterline. But note that there's quite a bit of space between the side armor and the actual citadel armor. It sort of reminds me of the French cruiser Black Hole scheme. Entirely possible that some AP shells are going to be armed by the belt plating. When they make contact with the ship, they will penetrate, but they may detonate before they ever reach the citadel, causing that sort of black hole effect and maybe keeping you alive for longer than you would think. This ship might be a little bit tankier than it initially looks if you're just examining the armor scheme. As for the guns, well, there are 8 of them. They're set in 2 quad turrets, one on the front of the ship and one on the rear. The one on the rear does have 360-degree turning, but the one on the front does not. So if you're going forward, you can switch all firepower to one side of the ship and then the other very easily. But if you're kiting, the front turret does have to turn the full 180 degrees in order to get to the other side. It is not 360. With my commander build, the guns have a range of 16.4 seconds. They are 152mm guns as well, so they're light cruiser guns, and they have a reload time of 11 seconds, with a turret traverse speed of 15 seconds. Now, you might be wondering, why is the reload time on 152mm guns so long at 11 seconds? Well, that's because this thing shoots both HE and SAP. The HE does a maximum damage of 2100, so it's not going to be blowing anybody out of the water. And the fire chance is only 7%, which I think is actually kind of low considering the relatively slow reload on these 8 guns. The maximum sab damage is about 4,000. Torpedoes, it's got some of those as well. It's got 2 quad launchers on either side of the ship. The torpedoes range out to 11.7 km. They're fairly slow at 56 knots, and they hit for the usual Italian damage of 13,900. And of course, being Italian, they have a fairly good detectability at 1.1 kilometers by sea. They're sort of the Italian sea mines that you can just throw out there. The range at 11.7 is fairly good. AA defenses, no surprise, not great. This is an Italian ship after all, and I don't think the AA gun range is all that far. In fact, the AA only ranges out to a maximum of 4 kilometers, which is probably not good if you're going to be dropped by a CV. But that's really the only sort of low light on the ship, aside from one other aspect, which I'll get to in a second. The maneuverability here is really one of the highlights, though. This thing is insane. Take a look at this sequence. This is the sequence that really sort of solidified it for me. We're taking a risky move here by going into the center of the map. Of course, this cruiser does have the trademark Italian rolling smoke, so we're able to conceal our approach, but the smoke screen is going to run out before we reach the safety of that island. However, we are so fast that we should be able to get out of danger. We're also so stealthy, too. Notice we only just now get spotted because our concealment is 8.6 kilometers by sea. That might be the best in class for a cruiser at this tier. It's certainly close to it. And the speed, we've got a maximum speed of 39.1 knots, and that is without any kind of engine boost, keep in mind. Although I think it does include the Epic Booster of Battle propensity flag. But anyway, it's fast enough that we're able to get out of the center of the map and come to a place where the North Carolina can no longer shoot us with his guns. So what this all amounts to is a fairly unique package on this Tier 6 Italian light cruiser. It's very fast and exceptionally stealthy, which almost makes it sort of able to perform the role of a destroyer. In fact, we are sort of going to perform the role of destroyer by taking this alpha cap, which we need to do considering all the blue team's destroyers are deceased, and, well, we're not on track to win this game. Look at how fast we are. Again, by the way, we're so fast that we should be able to get around this island here and avoid the worst of the North Carolina. And in this sequence, this is what really sort of solidified the playstyle of the ship for me. The maneuverability aspect that I didn't touch on is the rudder shift, which I am not in any way built up into. The rudder shift here is 6.6 seconds, and we have a turning circle of 620. That means we're a pretty agile and maneuverable cruiser, and so we can kite away while spamming SAP and then switching to HE to get a fire against this North Carolina, and he is going to have an exceptionally hard time hitting us. Now, of course, the HE doesn't have a great fire chance, but eventually it will start fires and will do damage over time. And then if you can aim the sap at the portions of the ship where it will actually pen, like the bow and stern plating and, of course, the superstructure, you can get some pretty good consistent damage, and then the enemy ship is going to have a hard time hitting you in return. And of course, if necessary, we are 30 seconds away from our last charge of the smoke screen. We could always deploy that if the North Carolina looks like he's about to get too accurate, and we could have some mobile concealment to continue kiting away in the safety of that. Our smoke firing penalty, by the way, is absurdly good at 4.8 kilometers, so there's no way the NC could possibly see us. But there, you see the real downside of the Ferruccio. Again, it does not really have armor at all, and it does have spaced plating between the belt and the citadel, which may cause some shells to experience that black hole phenomenon, but not always. You got to be careful. Shells will eventually find your citadel at some point, and they will take away all of your HP. And being a Tier 6 cruiser, we don't have the repair party, so we can't get any of that back. This game, by the way, is not looking too good for our team, but this very much solidified the playstyle of the ship for me. It's sort of a kiting cruiser that can get around the map, potentially provide spotting and cap abilities with its excellent concealment, and then can just deal damage to ships with using its sap and HE. And of course, against destroyers, well, we do have sap, which is very lethal to destroyers, as these two are about to find out. We're going to eliminate 2/3 of the enemy's entire destroyer fleet right there. Not quite quick enough for the double strike medal, but we do get the high caliber and 3 kills. North Carolina is looking like he's going to sink fairly soon. Launching the torpedoes, I think possibly for the first time in this game. They don't have the best angles in the world, but they can do the trick. And, of course, we take a big hit from the North Carolina, taking us down to 1800 HP. So, like 2 overpens and we're dead. We are going to be careful now and launch some torpedoes at the NC. Hopefully we'll be able to take him out. He does take some hits there from our teammates, which take him down to low enough health that maybe I'm confident enough to actually take the shot. Does look like he's on a perma fire, though, so he may just go down without any assistance from us. Do we try to yoink the kill and go for 4, though? We're waiting here till he shoots his guns. Honestly, I don't know why we're not shooting. There we go. We are going to yoink the kill on the NC. And of course, with SAP, well, we can be pretty sure that it's going to pen as long as we aim it correctly and guarantee us the kill on the NC. Kraken up for grabs here, of course. Spoiler alert, we're not actually going to get it, mostly because of the one downside of this ship, which is the lack of armor and the fact that we lost all of our HP to that North Carolina's one stray shell that managed to find our citadel. Maybe we'll be able to take down the Francesco Ferruccio, but all we've got left on our team is 2 fairly low health battleships, one of which is in a capture circle, but he's fighting head-on with the Ferruccio. And, well, even if he takes down the Ferruccio, they still have 1 final destroyer left alive, and the enemy team is far enough ahead on points that that destroyer can probably just sail off into the sunset and enjoy the win without having to do anything else. And that right there, with the Caracciolo taking down one of our last remaining teammates and leaving only that other battleship alive besides me, that pretty much seals the deal, and this is going to be a loss. So, perhaps not the most carry-capable ship in the world. I mean, certainly it could be. But if you lose all your HP like that, it sort of limits your ability to make plays, particularly when you are completely out of the smokescreen consumable. So would I recommend this ship? Well, no, absolutely not. I would not recommend this ship in any way. Yes, it is fun. It is unique. It is very fast and stealthy, and it's got some interesting things going on with the shell selection being between HE and SAP. But the only way to get it is by purchasing those random bundles. And if you're lucky, you know, if you want to spend a couple doubloons to convert a couple of those random bundles into denarii because you want to go for something else inside of that special section of the store, like commander guys or one of the Roman-inspired skins for one of the tech line battleships, for example. If you're going to do that, then fair enough, but there's no guarantee that you're going to get this ship for any reasonable kind of price, and I think it would be completely unreasonable to buy all 75 bundles for over 50,000 doubloons in pursuit of a Tier 6 cruiser that is admittedly unique and fairly good, but no ship is worth that amount of money, so I cannot recommend this ship in any way just because of the way you have to obtain it. If it were purchasable for a straight amount of doubloons in the store, then fair enough, that's fine. Maybe it would be worth pursuing. And of course, if you are lucky enough to get it early on in the bundle chain like I would have in the second bundle, then more power to you. You can get a pretty unique cruiser for a low price, but there's no guarantee of that, so I cannot recommend it. However, I do think it is a good ship, and I hope it comes back to the game in some way in the future, because I really don't like these random bundle chains. Initially, when I took it out on stream at the beginning of the update, I thought, oh, it's not very good. There's a lot of freeboard and not a lot of armor. But after playing it over about 15 games or so, I do think it's a pretty good ship. The real downside is the shells, though. It does not have AP, and so that will mean against other cruisers at the tier, even if they're giving you broadside, you really have no way to hit their citadel. All you've got is the sap, which will do good damage, but it won't do critical citadel damage to them, and of course the HE won't. So that is one sort of major downside to the ship, but it does offer a unique and interesting playstyle that not many other cruisers have. So I have been enjoying it. It's just unfortunate it's locked behind the bundle chain. Anyway, hope you liked the video. If so, consider subscribing if you haven't already. Give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.